Welcome back after the break. Well, Sunil, as we discussed before, that this week we're going to talk about Independence Day a lot because there has so much happened for Independence Day in America. And I feel very proud. I mean, even though we're away from the country, but somehow still very connected to India. So doesn't that make you feel very proud?
It certainly makes me proud, but Ferry, when you look at this last 65 years, India has gone through a lot.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
1947, when India got her independence, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was actually his ancestors came from a place called Kashmir. And just before India got her independence, Pakistan got her independence a day before.
Right.
And you think about today that what is the plight of people from Kashmir? In 1947, they agreed to become a part of India, and when you look at it today, where are they? It's still actually worse. And we have a special here, as we discussed this week, on India, where it is after 65 years, and where is it going? Even though the celebrations of, as you said, the Independence Day all over the country, Rakesh Kaul Sr., who has been on the forefront of this cause to fight or to argue or to represent India in this part of the world. He's a graduate from IIT Delhi, and one of the topmost CEOs that India has produced in North America. His own great-grandfather, who was a Kashmiri Pandit in a district of what is called Baramulla, which is actually emanating from the fact it's next to the lake on the banks of River Jhelum, and it's got its own story. His grandfather, who was the richest man in this place called Baramulla, and he talks about how Kashmir has seen beating again and again and again and again. He refers to 1323 when Zilchu had entered Baramulla with 70,000 warriors, and they rip it apart into pieces. People were dismembered. It was another downturn for Kashmir.
It's so
Then
sad. I mean, Kashmir is such a beautiful place.
certainly, it certainly is a beautiful place, but then you continue into the 1947 on October 22nd, then Pakistan invaded the first time into Kashmir, okay? And then again it was through Baramulla. It's a district which is very close to the border, and once again they were taking out people, killing them left, right and center, and of course the Maharaja of Kashmir agreed to accede Kashmir as a part of India, and India put these defense forces over there to defend the invaders and put it back into a free state and became a state of India. It is so unfortunate that anybody and everybody who has paid to oppose has suffered. Now you think about the Kashmiri Brahmins, they're a small percentage because more than 95% of the people living in Kashmir are from Muslim religion, but they all have coexisted because my parents, my ancestors came from Kashmir. I have my own fond memories of it, very closely knit society. But in the meantime, this what they call the Kali Andhi, which has been spreading time and again, 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, and the last one was now in 1989, when the whole group of Kashmiri Brahmins were dismembered from Kashmir in trucks, in buses, in their cars. However, as he talks about it, this Kali Andhi spread through Kashmir and did not even spare actually the Muslims who dared to believe in the Indian dream, because they believed in the diversity, the knowledge acquisition, the economic independence, women's rights, connectivity. I mean, which is what you just mentioned, because I'm sure somebody in your family must have ever visited Kashmir, must have told you it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But in the end of it, where are we today? It's the most dismembered part of India. After 65 years of independence, it seems nobody is caring, not even the government of India is caring. Of course not the invaders, whether they come from Pakistan or they come from Afghanistan or wherever they're coming from, they are least bothered about it. So Rakesh talks about there was a global teleconference where there are almost 20-25 countries, people from different parts of the country participated in this global conference, and the basic thing, the very simple declaration they came up with. They say, we just want reminding all concerned parties that Kashmiri Pandits are the original descendants of the ancient peoples of Kashmir. And the second thing they are talking about is the reaffirming that Kashmiri Pandits have inalienable rights in Kashmir. It's such a basic thing for somebody for whom Kashmir is their home. They were born, brought up, their parents, grandparents, everybody was born, brought up there, and they are talking about the basic, simple appeal. It's so unfortunate. And then, of course, they passed on the resolution. Lots of people were on the line. They talk about the global Kashmiri Pandit diaspora urges all concerned governments to return the operating control of all Kashmiri Pandit temples and shrines in historic Kashmir and related faith assets to an apex trust which will be set up by the Kashmiri Pandits of diaspora. Such a simple thing. Their own belief, their own temple, they just want to take control of that.
So they basically don't even have basic human rights.
Absolutely nothing. There is nothing called human rights.
Right.
The second one they call is the global Kashmiri Pandit diaspora calls upon the Jammu and Kashmir government and the majority community in the Kashmir to leave no stone unturned in ensuring that the minuscule Kashmiri Pandit left in Kashmir have full economic. There is still some people who have stayed back, and they have to be given full economic opportunity, physical security, and the freedom to pursue their own life and enjoy the full rights guaranteed to them by the India and the state constitution. Again, something very basic which you and I in America take it for granted because it's given to us.
Yeah.
Both countries are democracies, largest democracies, and here in one part of the world people are asking something basic, and here we have something which we take it for granted. And the last point they have passed on is the global Kashmiri Pandit diaspora stresses that the government of India initiate an official commission of inquiry and work closely with the FBI to probe and the linkages of Mr. Fay. You know Dr. Fay, which we have been covering on Eye on South Asia, who was arrested. Now he's under house arrest when the FBI invaded him and picked him up. They want true justice to be done to it and stop such kind of people from actually spreading the kind of propaganda he was doing about Kashmir. I think this story is so interesting, so beautiful, so painful on top of that. When you talk about Kashmir, it's beautiful. When you think about the pain behind that beauty, it's very painful.
It is.
So one questions really, very, after 65 years, are we really free? One of the most important parts of our state is not even free. Absolutely. The people are not free. They don't have the basics. So should we really claim independence? I guess
it is actually one sad story that we have there. I mean, hopefully, government will actually do something about it because, it's a beautiful country and innocent people, are actually paying for doing nothing. They just want basic human rights, right to live, right to, have a life and, right to have their freedom of religion and right to express themselves, and they don't even have such basic rights.
On the other hand now,
sad.
True, Ferry. On the other hand now, when you look at India, from a foreign point of view, right, India has been emerging as a global power in last 2 decades, 1.5, 2 decades. And we investigated this portion, this story, is India still hot for foreign firms? Because on the face of it looks that every international company wants to go to India, open their base. You have 120 billion consumers there. They have the money to spend. They're willing to spend today.
Right.
So the question we are asking is India still hot for foreign firms? And India recently, in the domestic chains, rejoiced the Indian government's in principle. They have still given in principle nod of 51% cap in retail business. Oh. So this kind of gives some hope to companies like Walmart. Walmart has gone to India.
Yeah.
And they have tied up with Bharti Enterprises, which is actually 5 years ago in 2006, and nothing has moved since then, since that announcement. Now you have another one. You have the French retail group Carrefour, which has a single wholesale cash and carry outlet in India and is awaiting FDI in a multi-brand retail, but they're both quiet. They understand in India the first and foremost thing you need is the patience.
Right.
You have to be patient. But on the other hand, now when we look at it, all these hopes and expectations of the West or the global world into India, we are worried that is it going to affect the IT? Because in IT we have in the front, Tata Consulting Services, you have the Infosys, and in fact the 80% of the revenue comes from US and Europe.
Right.
And Ferry, what has come recently to the forefront because of the sudden downturn in the this month, shares of HCL, which is the 4th largest India listed software exporter of sales, dipped by 5.8%, and the Infosys shares dipped by 4.7%, which is a 52-week low. This scares the common man because India's economy and its growth has been coming from the IT industry. And now this week, ING Investment Management India released data from the Investor Dashboard Survey for Q2 2011, indicating that amongst the 10 Asia Pacific markets, including in the survey, India at 161, which is 11 points below the Q2, the comparative quarter for 2010, continues to be in a very optimistic zone, which is good.
Right.
Which is the hope all these foreign firms are holding for India, that hopefully that this small stress that has been caused by what happened in US because of the debt issue.
Yeah, and especially the recent double dip recession we had.
Right.
The stock market being up and down constantly.
Yeah,
so which has affected a lot, including this topic that we are talking about.
India, but the India investors, as this report says, remain to be more optimistic still through the region because again of the numbers. And there is a decrease though in sentiments, especially in terms of the past 3 months, as you said, the economic situation globally triggered from US and kind of return on investments and generally speaking personal and household financial situation. So there is a certain kind of a concern, but overall it seems that India is still the most opportune space for any foreign firm that wants to do business or grow in these difficult times.
Absolutely. Well, Sunil, another interesting story we have is the title, the question is very interesting. NRIs, what they bring to the table. NRIs actually, India has actually benefited a lot because of the remittance and other contributions from the NRI community.
Right.
I mean, NRI, I think they have actually, helped the relationship between India and USA a lot also.
True. And what India has done for the non-resident Indians, as they call the full form of NRI, is there is a Pravasi Samman event that they host every year in January.
Right.
Bring in about 15 to 20 of them, honor them, they bring in the delegate, that's all. And this year in January, at the NRI in New Delhi, some of the people said, we have made a significant difference, NRIs make a lot of difference, and one of the diplomats was kind of offended and says, his actual comments are, we are not standing here with a begging bowl. Correct. Now think about 1991, you take the clock back in 1991, India had the lowest ever, I think it was less than 600 million foreign direct reserves left.
Right.
And at that time, the NRIs put almost $2 to $3 billion into India, right within a weekend, or probably this was the same month of August. And here is an official who is not even acknowledging the value, as you said, what they bring to the table.
Exactly, yeah.
And saying that we are not a begging bowl, while the foreign remittance to India today are 54 billion, just I think this is the highest. And then what do the Indian government do? They don't really care. It seems they are becoming so arrogant, they don't care about NRIs. But NRIs continue. These 25 million non-resident Indians all over the world, even US, we have almost 4 million, about 1 million in Canada, continue to contribute to the growth of India. They are contributing into the improving the quality of life in India. Doctors, engineers, educators, everybody has come forward together to build hospitals, educational institutions, setting up all kinds of businesses, investing in real estate, investing in stock market. That helps. India must acknowledge that NRIs bring a lot to the table. And now, fortunately, in a bid to attract foreign investments, India has opened the equity markets at a time because there is a panic in the foreign institutional investors, and they are kind of pressing the sell button. They are actually pulling their money out. So they have said they have put attractive propositions, and they have taken a decision to allow non-resident investors to purchase on repatriation basis rupee denominated units of equity schemes of domestic mutual funds, but subject to a ceiling of $13 billion. So now all these fellow non-resident Indians who are living in US, Canada, South Africa, Malaysia, Singapore, UK, if you really think, Ferry, the total remittance of the NRIs in India, from one report, it says 2 times the size of India's annual defense budget. It is bigger than India's total IT exports and India's annual trade with the United States, and is the same as India's annual trade with China, which happens to be the biggest trading partner for India. Think what a significant role Indians, the non-resident Indians, play in India.
So they somewhat play a big role in the economy of India.
True. And now from the analysis, the NRI funds remittances to India, around 20% was in the form of bank deposits.
Right.
13% went into real estate and 54% went into the spending of the relatives and the family of NRIs in India. Now this spending triggers the economy of India.
Absolutely.
Again,
absolutely.
such a significant role NRIs are playing. The only thing they have offered NRIs is what they call the dual citizenship, very limited rights. It's not like US, it's not like UK, where it's truly a dual citizenship where you have the rights on both parts of the world.
So hopefully, we're going to have more, better relationships, maybe NRIs will have better relationship with India.
True.
So we can succeed both ways. Well, with that, Sunil, it is now time for a short break, but we do have more interesting stories with regards to India's Independence Day. So it is now time for a short break, but you don't go anywhere.
The boys are coming.